There comes a moment in life that changes everything. Not because the world suddenly becomes different. Not because people suddenly start treating you better, but because something inside you shifts. Quietly, deeply, permanently. You stop needing people the way you used to. Not in a cold way, not in a hateful way, but in a free way. And that freedom begins the moment you become emotionally independent. Most people spend their entire lives emotionally attached to something outside themselves. Someone's attention, someone's approval, someone's presence. They depend on messages to feel important, on affection to feel valued, on validation to feel enough. And because of that, their emotional state is always controlled by other people. If someone replies fast, they feel good. If someone becomes distant, they feel anxious. If someone gives attention, they feel secure. If someone pulls away, they feel empty. Their peace depends on people, and that is the most dangerous form of dependency. Because the moment your emotions depend on someone else, you lose control over yourself. You become reactive, attached, afraid of loss, afraid of distance, afraid of being alone, and fear changes how you behave. It makes you tolerate disrespect, accept inconsistency, overgive, overchase, because deep down, you are not protecting the connection. You are protecting the emotional comfort it gives you. That's why emotionally dependent people stay too long, try too hard, forgive too much, because losing the person feels like losing themselves, and that fear keeps them trapped. Trapped in one-sided relationships, trapped in emotional cycles, trapped in situations that slowly destroy their peace. But eventually, something happens, not suddenly, but gradually. You get tired of overthinking, tired of chasing, tired of depending on people to feel okay, and slowly, you begin pulling your emotional energy back toward yourself. At first it feels strange, because you are used to seeking emotional stability outside of yourself. You are used to needing reassurance, attention, consistency from others. But now, you begin learning something different. You begin learning how to give yourself what you once begged others for: peace, validation, security, and that changes everything. Because the moment you stop depending on people emotionally, their power over you disappears. Now, someone's silence no longer destroys your mood. Someone's distance no longer controls your peace. Someone's approval no longer defines your worth. Because your emotional state is no longer in their hands. It is in yours. That is emotional independence. And most people never reach it. Because emotional independence requires something difficult. Letting go of emotional dependence. Letting go of the need to always feel chosen, always reassured, always validated. It requires you to sit with yourself, to understand yourself, to become emotionally stable without needing constant attention from others. And that process changes you completely, because now you stop chasing connections out of fear. You stop over-investing in people who barely invest in you. You stop forcing relationships that only survive because you keep carrying them. And for the first time, you begin choosing people from clarity instead of emotional desperation. That is a powerful shift, because emotionally dependent people choose based on fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. But emotionally independent people choose based on peace, respect, consistency, energy. They no longer stay somewhere simply because they are emotionally attached. They stay where they are valued. And if they are not valued, they leave. Not dramatically, not emotionally, but calmly. Because they understand something most people don't. Being alone is not suffering. Losing yourself is, and once you realize that, your standards change. You stop accepting breadcrumbs, mixed signals, half-effort, because you no longer need people to survive emotionally. You appreciate connection, but you do not depend on it. That difference changes your entire energy. Now, you are no longer desperate to keep people. You are observing who deserves access to you, who deserves your time, who deserves your emotional investment. And because of that, People begin treating you differently because emotionally independent people feel different. They are calm, grounded, unshaken, not because they don't feel emotions, but because emotions no longer control them. And that creates strength, real strength, not loud confidence, not ego, quiet emotional stability, the kind that doesn't collapse every time someone leaves, the kind that remains peaceful even in silence. Because emotionally independent people understand something deeply. People come and go. Attention comes and goes. Feelings come and go. But your relationship with yourself must remain stable. That becomes your foundation. And once your foundation is strong, people can no longer emotionally control you. Because manipulation only works on emotional dependency. If someone needs your attention to feel okay, you can control them by removing it. If someone depends on validation to feel valuable, you can control them by withholding approval. If someone fears abandonment, you can control them through inconsistency. That is how emotional dependence becomes emotional weakness. Not because emotions are weak, but because dependency creates vulnerability. And most people never realize how much of their behavior is driven by emotional need. They call it love, but often it is attachment, fear, dependency. Because real love does not destroy your peace. Real love does not make you lose yourself. Real love does not make you emotionally unstable every day. Emotional dependence does. That's why becoming emotionally independent changes everything. Because now, you no longer confuse attachment with love. You no longer confuse attention with value. You no longer confuse temporary comfort with genuine connection. You begin seeing clearly, and clarity changes your choices. Now, you stop forcing things. You stop chasing people who pull away. You stop explaining your worth to those who refuse to see it. Because your emotional stability no longer depends on their response. And that creates freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from desperation. Freedom from emotional chaos. Because now, your peace comes from within. Not from someone texting back, not from someone choosing you, not from someone staying. And ironically, that independence makes people value you more. Because emotionally independent people are difficult to control. They are not easily manipulated by attention, or distance, or emotional games. Because they are already emotionally complete within themselves. And that changes the dynamic completely. Now, people cannot control your emotions by becoming inconsistent. They cannot destroy your peace by pulling away. They cannot manipulate you through silence, because your emotional state is no longer dependent on them. That is power, real power, the kind that comes from emotional control, from self-awareness, from inner stability. And that power changes how you move through life. Now, you no longer stay somewhere simply because you are afraid to lose someone. You stay because the connection is healthy, balanced, mutual, and if it stops being that, you leave. Because emotional independence teaches you something important. You can care deeply about people without needing them to complete you. You can love someone without losing yourself. You can appreciate connection without becoming emotionally dependent on it. And once you reach that point, something inside you becomes calm, stable, free, because now you are no longer emotionally controlled by people's behavior. You are no longer waiting for validation to feel worthy. You are no longer terrified of losing people, because you understand this deeply. No person should have the power to destroy your peace. And the moment you truly understand that, you stop needing people the way you once did, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally learned how to stand emotionally on your own. And that is where real freedom begins.